the Scottish bank. It got another name to it. Scottish
Bank.
something something bank.
It's the same bank they show you in Harry Potter. Let's put that in your brain. The Harry Potter, when he go get his underground with a goat, where all that they open the vaults.
Mm-hmm.
They got in Switzerland. These guys.
Okay, now the bank, the World Bank and International Monetary Fund's owners didn't live there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They had recipients there and some high-ranking board members, but the top owners of IMF, International Monetary Fund, WB, the World Bank, we lived in a place called the Isle of Man.
Go ahead.
The Isle of Man was a small island that they use for diplomatic purposes to keep them concealed while they do all of this dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So Obama got the letter, the stand down letter from the Pope. Mm-hmm. We went over that, didn't we, Elder?
Yeah, we got the whole story down.
Okay, now the reason why the Pope wrote the letter was because Obama was trying to get the Pope to allow them to reconstitute the treaty with Morocco. Now remember, when the Treaty of Peace and Friendship was signed, there was no country on earth called Morocco.
Go ahead.
There is no ancient Morocco. There was no country before the 1900s, nowhere on earth called Morocco. But there was, out of Spain, something called the Royal Moroccan Company. It was called Rex Al Maroc something, but it translated into English as the Royal Moroccan Company.
Go ahead.
Right? The people of Morocco wasn't called Moors in ancient times. That's modern. But you attach the word ancient to Moor in order to give the illusion that we've been called Moors for eons, and it's not true.
Yeah, I disagree partially with you on that, bro. I think Moor is pretty old, and I already did a whole tape on it. AI did a whole tape on it.
Now you got to remember, MUUR and MOOR is two different words from two different backgrounds with two different etymologies.
In linguistics, O and U is interchangeable.
That's modern Grimm's Law grammar.
Man.
Right? You got to remember that.
Go ahead, Roy.
That's Grimm. Look, Grimm's. Hold on. Do you know who Brother Grimm is?
Never heard of him.
Okay, now, you ever heard of some fairy tales called Grimm's Tales?
Uh-huh.
Well, they started writing the rules for translation in the 1600s. They was the fairy tale writers of the Three Little Bears, which was taken from older writings from Aesop's fables. They reworked them to use different animals based on the geography. Well, it was Grimm's Law says all vowels are interchangeable in translation, but it's more to it than that. The translation had to be from a Semitic language to a non-Semitic language, or an ancient language. It doesn't carry over from French to Spanish, the same as we do from Hebrew to English. Right? When we wasn't calling ourselves Moor, MOOR, and normally the ones MUUR that you refer to, they call themselves Amaru because they had to preface it. Right? Amaru is the preface of the ones who come from the city of Moor. It's called Amaru. They weren't calling themselves Moor. They would call themselves Amaru, but only when they write it out in the pictographic writing will you see that it was a preface before the MUUR. And most of the time they didn't even refer to themselves as that because the ones who was classified as the royal family referred to themselves as Nagas, Nagas, which became translated as serpent, but that's not what it means. Right? In ancient times, Nagas didn't mean serpent. It meant royal bloodline or royal family. Right? It's just like they think everybody in Kenya was royalty. They wasn't. Everybody over here wasn't royalty. Some of them peasants couldn't wait to sell out the royal families from over here. When you see the word RES, that means royal in Latin. REX, that means royal. Right? So when you say stuff in English, right, when they say Rex 87, the Lord Alpha plan, Rex 87, readiness exercise is what it's short for, but Rex means king.
Yeah.
Lord Alfred became King Alfred. Right? And so they call it Rex 84 when it was actually King Alfred plan. The King Alfred plan was the blueprint to lay out to get rid of us by taking the leadership out of the community by locking them in prisons. It's still right there. You can still read REX -84, written by Oliver North and Poindexter, before the Iran-Contra. That's how it came out at.
Yeah, I got a tape on that. I just put
right. It came out during the Iran-Contra, and most of the people used to believe it wasn't true. Mm-hmm. The first people who was teaching it in the Rex 84 program defense was the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam said we had to protect our leader. This is what the FOI was so instrumental. We got to protect our leaders from the King Alfred plan, is what they was calling it at the time. We didn't know about Rex 84 yet. We thought them brothers was totally batshit crazy. Mm-hmm. We barely knew about COINTELPRO. And if it wasn't for the Nation of Islam pushing for the Freedom of Information Act, we would never have got access to that information. Mm-hmm. So we'll still be fighting in the dark right now. Like most of us don't even know that the legal teams that was handpicked by Elijah Muhammad became the ones who pushed to get the Freedom of Information Act to be able to reveal hidden secrets to the public. We don't know that was Elijah Muhammad pushing some attorneys to do, some civil rights attorneys that y'all thought were part of the NAACP, the Rainbow Coalition, and all of that stuff. We didn't know Elijah had that reach.
Hey, Rod, this the point I want to clear up though, because I can't let it go on without saying all of this. Mm-hmm. Now, you gave me the George Washington challenge. In the George Washington challenge, it says the Moors. I'm gonna do this to the Moors. So like we can say how old they go and all that, but I'm talking we can let's deal with now. The George Washington challenge said they gonna go out to the Moors, stop the Moors from knowing who they gonna be. Am I lying?
No, you're on point. I'm with you.
All right. Now the COINTELPRO operations. You know all about the COINTELPRO, Killer Clowns. Mm-hmm. In their operations, their main study, their library, they got the most information on the Moors. Why? If they're instrumental in protecting the Federal Reserve, the North Gate, and they studying the Moors, why are they doing it? Why are they doing it?
Okay, first we gotta go back to the George Washington challenge first.
But we're doing by saying Moor's not that old. It makes it like Moor's not relevant today. When we say Moor's
the Moors are absolutely relevant today, and here's why.
You know what I'm saying, so we gotta make that clear too.
Remember we did the catch term. Moor is a catch term.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that class? Yeah. Okay, now they classified conquistadors, Huguenots, and gentry. That's Spanish, French, and English Negropeans as Moors. They knew we was referred to as Amaru. The translation in the English of the word Amaru is Moor. Mm-hmm. They're not the same people though. So we had to figure out it's a difference between a righteous Moor and a dirty Moor.
Yeah.
If we don't figure this difference out, which is in their literature, by the way, if we don't figure this part out, we gonna always think that we fighting pale faces.
Go ahead.
You get it?
Go ahead. I got that part already. I got the part about the Moor Zionist guys who came the back doors, the Jacobites. They were more.
Yeah, that's just a Johnny come lately faction.
Yeah, it's different Moors, right? It's different
right.
Moors.
Right. Yeah, so even when you go to the legal definition of the word Moor, they're gonna give you a term called a tawny Moor. They're gonna give you a term called a blackamoor, right? And they gonna it's several more of them, but they all classify under the general term Moor.
Mm-hmm.
A tawny Moor and a blackamoor phenotypically don't necessarily look alike. $5 Indian original, right? $5 Indian original. It's the same as a tawny Moor, blackamoor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Most of us don't know that the original English that came over here looked like us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Most of us don't know that, and most of us don't know that before Christopher Columbus' voyage, that we was already assisting the Irish and the Scots in their wars against the Catholics. We don't know this because it's not taught as part of the curriculum, right? So when we say Moor today, Moor is an absolute relevant term. Under that banner of Moor, though, you got to remember the dirty Moor and the righteous Moor.
Right.
Right? Now, why do we call the righteous Moor? Only because he right. That got nothing to do with, but he's right about who he is and the land he owns. Because all of us not good people. You gotta remember that. All of us is not good people.
Right.
But the dirty Moor has no birthright claim to nothing that's ours. No, and they try everything they can to convince us that we are the same people while they usurping every attempt of ours to rise. And this is why they murdered Clarence 13X. This is why they infiltrated the Nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. That alone, the study of the infiltration of the Nation of Islam itself. Remember, Malcolm left and did a press conference and say that the Nation of Islam has been thoroughly infiltrated.
Mm-hmm.
That means there's a whole lot of infiltrators in there. How can they be infiltrated by Paleface when Paleface ain't there? They not allowed in, has never been allowed to be members. So if they thoroughly infiltrated, what do the infiltrators look like?
Go ahead.
Right? Now, Malcolm was writing, he was dictating the autobiography to Alex Haley after, not before, after he was ousted from the Nation of Islam. Because while he was in the nation, he was so absorbed in doing ministerial work, he didn't have time to sit down with Alex Haley and tell his story. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a direct quote from Malcolm X in the autobiography of Malcolm X in reference to Elijah Muhammad. He said, I will lay down my life for that man, but it's not past tense. It's not past tense. Which takes us to another interview press conference that Malcolm had, where he's naming all of these names of people in the Nation of Islam, and he said that the people in the streets know I'm not telling on nobody. And he said, and the police know I'm not telling on nobody because they told me. And he started naming names. Who he talking to, first of all, is he can't do that. But he can put it in the public domain. And Elijah, a 9.9.9 out of 10, he's seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So now Malcolm, in his OAAU days, Organization of African American Unity, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he formed after he left the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
In them days, with the long beard, he's sitting there telling Elijah Muhammad, because there ain't nobody else for him to be telling. He can call Martin and say, hey, Martin, these are the niggas that infiltrated the nation. Let me give you their name. He couldn't do that with Elijah. Because now he's running a red herring.
Mm.
The red herring is to draw the heat off the messenger. Long enough for him to come up with a contingency plan for the infiltration that took place in the Nation of Islam. And what Wallace did is what Malcolm was supposed to do. They traded places because Wallace didn't want to die for his daddy. Right? So what happened? Before Malcolm get brought into, and they brought up all of the things about the girls and the babies and all that, Wallace already knew that that wasn't never a point of contention. Mm-hmm. Wallace was sent to go to school in the Middle East so he could become Arabized and believe that Islam was being an Arab in America.
Yeah.
And Elijah kept telling everybody the whole time is the Islam that we teach is not the Islam they teach in Mecca. Right?
Uh-huh.
So now he's teaching you these values, principles, and he's getting drugs addicts off drugs. He's getting pimps out the street. He's getting hoes off the corner. He getting drug dealers out the trap houses. He doing all this stuff, but because he don't wear a jalabia and a turban, his son don't think he's a Muslim. Because he's been indoctrinated by the Arabs. Right? Modern Islam from the Middle East is 2% Islam, 98% Arab culture.
Go ahead.
We don't got Arab culture over here, so Elijah couldn't teach you Arab culture because he wasn't no Arab.
Go ahead.
So what did he do? He used the doctrine of the Quran because he knew Shriners was instrumental in our imprisonment. He had already went through his Christian school, so he had already been Reverend Robert Poole already.
Right.
What they called back then a jackleg preacher.
Go ahead.
A storefront preacher. He went from that, okay, now how do I get this information to structure it for my people to be able to snap out of the amnesia? He couldn't get everybody.
So what Master Muhammad come in on that part, like the what does
Master Muhammad comes in on Masonic code talk.
Okay.
Master Muhammad is the perfect mirror when you're using the law opposites. Right? Fard means to pay the fare or to pay the wages. Muhammad means the praiseworthy.
That's right.
Right? Now, the most famous picture is he's standing there holding a big ass book in his hand, reading the book. The message that picture says is study. Right? Now, when you're looking at Elijah Muhammad as the focal point, Fard Muhammad is the mirror. But who is he reflecting? Right? Not until you clairvoyant do you see clear that Claire is the praiseworthy. Big Mama. Let that sit for a minute with you, Elder. Not until you clairvoyant do you see clear that Claire is the Muhammad. Right? We know this culturally. When we know our culture, we say, oh, that's a code. But we don't know our culture. Let that white man up there talking about this white man God. right? But we ain't never been deceived about our culture.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back and listen to the stories, the story is Elijah supposed to be drunk on the tracks. What happened next? You remember?
Say what now?
Elijah Muhammad supposed to be drunk on the train tracks.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, now, this is right before his awakening. Clarence sent his oldest sons, I think his name was like Hubert or Filbert or something.
Yeah, Hubert. I think it's Hubert.
And Wallace to go get their daddy off the tracks and bring them back home. That's cold talk. That's cold talk. The tracks is the crossroads. Right? If you drunk on the crossroads in ancient times, that was a sacrifice. You sacrifice yourself on the crossroads in order to meet the Baron, Samadhi, the Baron of the crossroad. But only he not gonna answer nobody but the women. Big Mama. If Big Mama didn't sing you, you're not coming off them tracks. You can't go on your own. But if Big Mama sing you, she gonna have to send somebody to come recover your body before you get killed.
Right.
We don't remember the old culture like that. Right? So the mirror opposite of Fire Muhammad is Claire Muhammad. 100% perfect mirror opposite. Right? Pale face, chocolate skin. Right? Man, woman. Right? We never was deceived about God being the great mother.
Right.
Only we went along with the story, but they passed her off as a man when they called her Jesus. And all the time, if we go back to the Greek, we realize that it was Isis the whole time.
And that's why in the Pope office, their secret little room, they got the Black Madonna feed the baby.
Right. Right.
So if Jesus is God, who Mary? Who the hell is Mary?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I say it all the time. If Jesus is God, Hail Mary, Mother of God, what they make her? She is the God maker. Now we back in masonry, whether we want to be or not. Because soon as you realize who the God maker is, only certain women are God maker. But all of the women that's God makers is heirs.